Night's Queen. The Night's Queen is a legendary figure known both in the Seven Kingdoms and among the free folk dwelling beyond the wall. She allegedly lived not long after the creation of the Night's Watch, some 8,000 years ago. The Corpse Queen was the legendary consort of Night's King from the Age of Heroes. Her given name is unknown. Appearance. The Corpse Queen is said to have had cold, white skin and eyes like blue stars. History. According to legend, Night's King lived during the Age of Heroes, not long after the wall was complete. He was a fearless warrior who served as the 13th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. After viewing the white-skinned woman from atop the wall, he chased and loved her. Night's King brought her back to the Night Fort, and after the unholy union, he declared himself king and her his queen. Night's King ruled the Night Fort as his own castle for 13 years. During the dark years of his reign, horrific atrocities were committed, of which tales are still told in the north. It was not until Brandon the Breaker, the King of Winter, and Jorman, the King Beyond the Wall, joined forces that Night's King was brought down and the Night's Watch freed. After his fall, when it was discovered that Night's King had been making sacrifices to the others, all records of him were destroyed and his very name was forbidden and forgotten. Maesters are skeptical of the legend, thinking the Corpse Queen was possibly a daughter of a Barrow King from the Bar Rollins, who were often associated with graves and burials. According to legend, a Lord Commander of the Night's Watch found in the haunted forest a cold woman with bright blue eyes, seemingly a female White Walker. He took her to the other side of the wall and declared himself Night's King. For 13 years the two ruled over the brothers of the Night's Watch, performing human sacrifices. The free folk rallied under the banner of a king beyond the wall, Jorman, and marched against the Night Fort, which the Night's King had taken as his seat, defeating him and his queen with the aid of House Stark. In the books. In the A Song of Ice and Fire novels, the Night's King fell in love with a woman with skin as white as the moon and eyes like blue stars. He loved her though her skin was cold as ice, and when he gave his seed to her he gave her his soul as well. He brought her to the Night Fort and bound the brothers of the Night's Watch to his will through sorcery. He declared himself Night's King and ruled over the wall and the gift as his own. The king in the north, Brandon the Breaker, and Jorman, the king beyond the wall, joined forces to defeat him and his queen. After their deaths, it was discovered that they had been making human sacrifices to the others, the White Walkers. After their defeat, the rule was enforced that the castles of the Night's Watch along the wall should never be fortified against approach from the south, so that they cannot oppose the land south of the wall which they are meant to defend. The downfall of the Night's King and Queen also resulted in the strict enforcement of the rule that the Night's Watch is meant to be politically neutral, as guardians who do not rule the wall but who serve the realms of men. Night's King. The Night's King is a legendary figure known both in the Seven Kingdoms and among the free folk dwelling beyond the wall. Night's King, also called the Night's King, is a legendary Lord Commander of the Night's Watch who lived during the Age of Heroes. His given name is unknown. History. According to legend, Night's King lived during the Age of Heroes, not long after the wall was complete. While serving as the 13th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, he fell in love with a white-skinned woman, and when he gave his seed to her he gave his soul as well. Night's King brought her back to the Night Fort, and after the unholy union, he declared himself king and her his queen. He ruled the Night Fort as his own castle for 13 years with his Corpse Queen by his side. During the dark years of his reign, horrific atrocities were committed, of which tales are still told in the north. It was not until Brandon the Breaker, the King of Winter, and Jorman, the King Beyond the Wall, joined forces that Night's King was brought down and the Night's Watch freed. After his fall, when it was discovered that Night's King had been making sacrifices to the others, all records of him were destroyed and his very name was forbidden and forgotten. It is likely this led the Lords of the North to forbid the Night's Watch to construct walls at their keeps, ensuring the keeps would always be accessible from the south. In the books. In the A Song of Ice and Fire novels, the Night's King was a Lord Commander of the Night's Watch during its earliest years, not long after the Long Night ended and the wall was completed. He is considered a legendary, half-mythical figure, not far removed from Bran the Builder. If he really did exist, it was almost 8,000 years ago. Consider that while the Night's King was the 13th Lord Commander, at the time of the War of the Five Kings, Jeor Mormont is the 997th Lord Commander. However, the Night's King fell in love with a woman with skin as white as the moon and eyes like blue stars. He loved her though her skin was cold as ice, and when he gave his seed to her he gave her his soul as well. He brought her to the Night Fort and bound the brothers of the Night's Watch to his will through sorcery. He declared himself Night's King and ruled over the wall and the gift as his own. The king in the north and Jorman, the king beyond the wall, joined forces to defeat him. After he was killed, it was discovered that he had been making human sacrifices to the others, the White Walkers, and all records of him were destroyed, and uttering his name was forbidden, so it became lost to history. According to Old Nan, there are many, unverified, speculations about the origin of the Night's King. He might have been a Bolton, a Magnar of Skagos, an Umber, a Flint, a Norei, or a Woodfoot. Old Nan claims to know a version of the tale where he was actually a Stark, the brother of the man who brought him down, and his name was perhaps Brandon. After the defeat of the Night's King, the rule was enforced that the castles of the Night's Watch along the wall should never be fortified against approach from the south, so that they cannot oppose the lands south of the wall which they are meant to defend. The downfall of the Night's King also resulted in the strict enforcement of the rule that the Night's Watch is meant to be politically neutral, as guardians who do not rule the wall but who serve the realms of men. When the leader of the White Walkers, first seen in Oathkeeper, was dubbed the Night King by the producers, confusion set in amongst some fans as to the relationship between two characters. After Hard Home aired, Game of Thrones Wiki contacted George R.R. Martin asking whether to treat the White Walker referred to as the Night King relative to the ancient Lord Commander known as the Night's King if they are the same character, or if Night's King is a title that can be held by different characters, like King in the North. He was also asked if it was significant that Benioff and Weiss refer to him as the Night King, without a possessive S. Martin cryptically avoided the first question, but said he prefers the spelling Night's King. As for the Night's King, the form I prefer, in the books he is a legendary figure, akin to Lon the Clever and Brandon the Builder, and no more likely to have survived to the present day than they have. The door revealed that the Night King was created by the Children of the Forest during their war with the First Men, i.e., before the Night's Watch was founded. This would suggest they are indeed separate characters.
If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.